Great. This is Hank and Jerry talking about Upkido. And Hank, you had proposed a little exercise, which I have open on my screen, which I like a lot, uh, for what underappreciated ideas that we think should be part of the Upkido civilizational stack, and then also concepts, societal innovations. So I think those two categories might mix together a little bit, but I like the brainstorming. And do
Yeah,
you want to explain a little bit more about what you were thinking and what you want to do with it?
yeah. I'll just give a bit of a background. I'm sure because I've tried it now myself a couple of times, and the two categories are not easy to disentangle, and maybe it's good that they don't disentangle. We had the idea at the beginning of our calls that there were a number of excellent ideas which don't get used very much. You suggested the title "Underappreciated Ideas." I thought that's terrific. In the past month, I read Roman Krasnarik's History for the Future. And in a number of his passages, he's a very good popularizing writer of almost everything. And he pointed out that the commons was a social innovation. It was an invention before
Love
people
that.
thought of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I added a few of my own, Nansen passports, whether it's a social or societal invention, a interesting concept, or probably not worth considering. It is something that changed the way stateless people, at least for a number of decades, could work in the world. Uh,
Yeah.
Moonshots, uh, essentially, JFK invented the moonshot, although I don't think he coined the word. But since then, it's been used in so many different contexts to describe an idea which people understand just by
Hmm.
in the label. So it's also a societal innovation. So I thought, I take the step aside. Our original idea for coming together had to do with the Library of Indigenous Wisdom Concepts, and I thought
Hmm.
to circle back to that perhaps already in our next call by warming up with something that's easier to think about, which is why I suggested the underappreciated ideas slash societal innovations.
I love that. I love that. And it's strangely, it fits a bunch of stuff I've been thinking and doing lately for other things. So tomorrow I have a podcast recording in the morning, kind of a podcast about financial services and AI, uh, and where that's going. And a lot of what I talk about is trust. And then tomorrow evening, April and I are speaking at the Portland Athletic Club for a local guy who's a friend, in front of a group of, I don't know, 60 people, I think, which is fun because April and I love to talk together. But we're talking also about uh, financial services, trust, April's thesis of flux, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
then and then April and I are working on a piece of some of her talks about one of her superpowers called Know Your Enough, which
yeah,
which is not primarily meant to be know that you are enough, which is also
yeah,
implied, but rather know when you have enough or
yeah.
feel like you have enough. And this notion of enoughness or enoughism, it turns out, has been coined already by somebody. I was just diving deep into that this morning and a little bit last night, and these things all bleed together. And I was just realizing how interconnected the ideas are because somebody coined the term wealth, Wellth.
Yeah,
So instead of wealth, Wealth, which is about money, wealth, which is about your subjective well-being.
yeah,
Except if you can replace that as your notion of wealth, then all of a sudden you focus on and try to track and try to do different things than before. And so for me, wealth with two L's is maybe one of these underappreciated ideas. Then I just recently remembered, or part of my research brought me back the concepts like affluenza, and in 2001, a bunch of people did a PBS special and wrote a book titled Affluenza, and they said we are completely addicted to buying stuff and having too much, and that this idea of just catching up with, keeping up with the Joneses is the old version of it, but FOMO, fear of missing out, all these things that have, addictive qualities, which we are subject to now, and they're opposites of a calm life, of wealth, of quietude, of slow living, the slow movements. There were remember the charming slow movements that came up a couple decades ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
Slow
Underappreciated.
eating, slow food,
Yeah.
slow money, a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's talking about those much these days. But I think these are all part of the mix, and it would be fun to catalog some of them and capture a few of them in a bottle like we want to do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, slow foods is something that is certainly an underappreciated idea because we're full of fast food, and fast food is destroying our health. So maybe slowing down when we're
Hmm.
eating, slowing down when we're cooking, or slowing down to think about what we're eating are very usable concepts.
Absolutely. Um, it's interesting. I'm just going to do a little screen share.
Yeah.
Oop, sorry. Screen share for my brain for just slow stuff that I collected back then. There we go. So here's slow movements, which has a Wikipedia page. Which is under slowing down intentionally and slow stuff. But I've got the slow food movement, which has a bunch of things, chefs who are behind it, articles about it, Slow Food USA, Slow Food International, which is the global thing. But then slow homes, slow books, slow cities, slow conversations, slow education, slow parenting, slow money, slow medicine, slow photography, slow reading, slow science, the slow sex movement, slow travel, slow work, sloth.
Yeah.
I don't even remember sloth. Traffic
Uh,
calming. It's next to traffic calming. Anyway,
yeah.
these all things people have.
Nice. Nice move into this subject.
Yeah.
So what else can we imagine if you would deal with issues, hardly gets mentioned anymore. Acts of Hope, well, Joanna Macy, Rebecca Solnit, and a whole group of other people have described that very well, but it still means that, I'll say it differently, every time I want to talk about hope in terms of active hope with people I'm with, I have to go into a long explanation and mention Joanna Macy's work, Rebecca Solnit's more popularized versions of it. So it's certainly underappreciated at the moment.
Yep. Yep.
The social genome, can we unravel a social genome as scientists have unraveled individuals' genome? It's a very interesting idea. Uh, is there a social genome? Is it true for all humans, or is there a separate one for North Americans and Europeans and Middle Easterners and Southeast Asians, or is there a separate one for men and women in different cultures? I mean, there's a lot to be unraveled there,
Hmm.
and I think it's a very interesting concept to try to take forward in an Upkido dojo, but we'll get to that a little
Hmm.
later. Because if there's research being done on it, it's certainly not being discussed in the media I see, and possibly if it got out more into an open space in the public realm, lots of people could contribute to it, pay it forward. It was used 2 decades ago in a film. Film didn't go anyplace. Concept
The
was
film was a cult. It was a cult hit, but it didn't, it didn't go much bigger.
practical wisdom
Yeah.
from Jesus. People use the word wisdom all the time, I think, without really distinguishing what they mean between knowledge or talent or ability or insight. Wisdom is something different, but practical wisdom is a special category of the wisdom which allows you to, it's a category which allows you to do things with the things you know in a wise way. It's originally from Aristotle. It was taken over by Professor Nonaka Sensei,
Oh,
about 20
interesting.
years ago. He wrote about it extensively in the last 2 decades of his life. And it's certainly something that can enrich people's repertoire of understanding consequences of things that happen and intervening in a practically wise way.
And so it's yeah, Ikujiro Nonaka. Uh, what did he do with Phronesis?
He essentially used it as one of the basic thinking tools in looking at how organizations and communities and societies uh, operate. He used that quite extensively in the last 2 decades of his life and wrote about it well.
Sweet, thank you. Keep going. This is terrific. I'm actually curating my brain with all these things as we talk. I had a little bit about Phronesis, but not the Wikipedia page, et cetera, et cetera. And are you distinguishing between underappreciated ideas and societal innovations, or do you want to blend the two, or is there a reason to keep these as separate lists?
Well, I conceived of two categories. So this category I've mentioned so far, I sort of see as a very useful and relevant idea which never caught on beyond a small circle of practitioners.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I'll go into the concepts of societal innovation in a moment.
Okay.
Uh, I'll float a few by you, see what you think.
Yep.
Frankenstein moment,
Cool.
Gutenberg moment.
Yes. Salim Ismail talks a lot about Gutenberg moments.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, he says we are going through 20 simultaneous Gutenberg moments right now because Gutenberg printing leads to Protestant Reformation, lots of wars, and all the writing that we have now. He says we're going through 20 things like that, from CRISPR to Gen AI to space travel to what have you.
Interesting. Salim Israel?
Is Salim Ismail.
Ismail.
Uh, he's the founder of the EXO movement, the Exponential Organizations movement. I'll put his Wikipedia page in the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a friend, and I've done a bunch of work with EXO
oh,
projects.
terrific. Yeah. I'll have to ask you to save the chat and send it to me because I have no idea how to do that.
That's right, you're on your iPad. Also, Salim is a big appreciator of an equation I came up with that is relevant to our conversation here, which is scarcity equals abundance minus trust.
Okay, yeah,
And by which I mean a lot of things in the world could be really abundant. They're scarce right now, but they could be really abundant if we understood the trust dynamics of making them abundant.
yeah, yeah,
However, because we've managed to trash trust in most places and turn things over, institutionalized in ways that mostly mistrust everybody, we've created a bunch of scarcity we don't need to have. But then
yeah.
this is a companion thought to scarcity equals value. In fact, in the video where I explain this, I talk about how in business school they taught me that scarcity equals value, which is a trope that's kind of meant to say unless there is scarcity, that you have no business model. You must have a scarce good or service in order to have a valuable
Mm.
business model. And I'm like, that is nonsense. I
Yeah,
think that is just total nonsense.
yeah, I agree. I
I think
agree.
there's value to be had amid abundance. And all of a sudden we're into the abundance scarcity conversation, and boy, that can go forever. That one has legs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you one more, which was on
Yeah.
my original list, and that's political wayfinding.
Yes. Oh, and I don't see it on your list that you emailed me, so it
No,
didn't make it to that list.
yeah, no, it would. I just wanted to sort of seed the conversation with a few.
Cool.
Uh,
So you're saying specifically political wayfinding, because wayfinding is a thing, but I don't.
Absolutely. But I'm convinced that the same principles of wayfinding and navigating uh, in deserts, oceans, mountains, deep forests
Yep.
be applied to political wayfinding as well.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. I like it.
So those are the ones that I had thought of. Uh, do you have any others you'd like to seed the list with?
Um, Let me see. Deep listening.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good.
And in fact, it's funny. My favorite. So another one of these URLs that I own that I thought about a little bit is Fubarism, and I've told you about Fubarism, right?
Yes, yes.
So in Fubarism is a placeholder religion. What would you put in a placeholder religion? I looked around, and my favorite thing I found is from Thich Nhat Hanh, I believe, which means it could be anywhere in the Buddhist tradition or whatever. But it doesn't get called out very specifically. Like it's hard to find this as one specific trope, but it's deep listening and loving speech.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
the two things together. And
yeah,
for me, deep listening and loving speech are the answer to uh, how we move forward. And to me, they should also be an Upkido practice.
yeah, yeah. I like
So let
that.
me, huh. So there's a PDF that I found which doesn't have much in it. Oh, I've got it above them. That's why. All right, I need to fix this.
Yeah.
Um, there we go. Connect it to loving speech. Connect this down to underappreciated ideas. Cut the link to loving speech to deep listening. Well, that's okay. And then connect this to um, Uberism. Um, so yeah, uh, good.
Let's move
Go ahead.
over. Let's move over now to what I was calling social or societal innovations, and see whether we think together that they are a different category,
Right,
or are there Upkido practices attached to social or societal innovations, which might be different than
right.
appreciated ideas. The ones I
Yep.
seeded the list with are the comments. That was my eye opener when I read Roman Krasnarik's book.
Yeah. Which one of his books did you read for
Uh,
that?
his most recent one, History for Tomorrow, I guess it's called.
Uh, got it. His- History for Tomorrow. Got it. 2024. Good.
Yeah, yeah. Then there's the social or societal contract.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that came up in the Enlightenment with people like Locke and Hume, uh, possibly originated in France with Rousseau, but it's an Enlightenment concept, which means there's very strong pros and cons to it.
Right.
But
My brain tells me that Rousseau wrote a tract called The Social Contract in 1762, which appears to have coined the term, which then lots of other people run off and use.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yep. And one of my big ahas these days is that our social contract is broken.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yep.
it has been for a really long time.
Yep.
So to that extent, it gets used in the wrong way. It gets used as lip service very often, but who's doing it seriously these
Right.
days?
Right.
So it's certainly a concept that belongs in both fields. Now,
Well, I
distribute.
would,
Oh, sorry, go.
yeah, it's just a digression. I would say that the far right is completely aware of this and is actively redesigning the social contract into an authoritarian model that people lovers of liberal democracy are going to hate.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I agree that the social contract is an important concept here.
So then
Um,
I've got distributed ownership.
uh-huh.
And in fact, I didn't put it on the list, but I have it my large list because that leads me to the joint stock company
Hmm.
and
Well,
the stock
that one seems
market.
to be well known, don't you think?
Oh yeah, well that's why I put it in the box of societal concepts because before
Mm.
it was there, it wasn't there.
Hmm.
And one says that the Dutch invented it
Yep. The
with
first
the
stock exchange.
VOC. Yeah, so they invented both the joint stock company and the stock market. And we were at the Maritime Museum here in Amsterdam this afternoon. So we know that it led to dispersion, dissemination of slavery, many wars, indiscriminate violence in colonial countries, and lots of things like that.
Yep.
So it has lots of cons, but the question would be if it were reframed or reclaimed in an
Hmm.
Upkido commons, would it still be useful?
Interesting. So distributed ownership as opposed to or as exemplified by joint stock ownership.
I would say that the larger concept is distributed ownership and practical historical examples would be the joint stock company and the stock exchange and things like that. But I would say
Hmm.
the concept which gave birth to those and many other very positive examples of joint ownership, collective ownership, distributed ownership. That's the real concept.
Hmm. Cool. And I have a bunch of thinking in my brain and elsewhere about stewardship versus ownership.
Yeah.
There's this interesting spectrum because distributed ownership also comes to things like Bitcoin, blockchain, uh, et cetera, et cetera. There's sort of a whole bunch of ways of technologically distributing shares in something, use of something, or whatever, which kind of cloud the view a little bit for me because for me, stewardship is more interesting than ownership. And one of the problems I see is that wherever Western civilization came in, they insisted on ownership. They surveyed the land. As soon as surveyors show up, you know you're in trouble. Because when the surveyors show up is when the roads show up and when they divide up your property and give it to other people, right?
Absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
they push you off the land because it's like, we're sorry, you didn't buy the land, someone else owns it now. And you're like, we were doing just fine until you all showed up, right?
Yeah.
And that's the story of colonialism around the world.
Absolutely.
Um, um, so stewardship is what a lot of communities were practicing before then. And this goes back very nicely to enough because one of the practices of stewardship, for example, is you come across a nest of eggs. Eggs are tasty. You're going to take some back to your family. You're going to leave an egg or two in the nest. You never take all of whatever you find because you want to let the thing grow, replicate, produce. You want to let the ecology, economy, whatever it is, continue. And so never grabbing everything is one of the principles of ecosystem management. There's a bunch of others, but I think that's a really good one.
That,
And what it means is when you take, you are aware of your effect on the larger system.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a nice story, and there's all kinds of practical examples which people in neighborhoods uh, probably uh, uh, probably experience every month, if not every week. We
Yeah.
had one yesterday. Jose came back from visiting a friend, and she had a huge box of a special kind of apple, which
Oh,
isn't very common in the Netherlands, but it's very tasty. So she decided she would make applesauce with about half of them. And then we have a neighborhood app. And she put on a neighborhood app. I've got a lot of these special apples. I'll leave the box in front of my house. Come by and take them. So in the course of the day, Jose made her applesauce. People came and picked up the apples. One neighbor next to us said she'd really like some apples, but there were only four left at that point.
yeah,
So Jose decided to take a big bowl of the applesauce over
right.
to her place, but because their other neighbors were visiting, she took two bowls of applesauce. And the last part of it is today when we were already in Amsterdam, someone put a message on the neighborhood app who had come along and taken apples.
Yeah.
She photo of an apple pie she had baked and said, "Are you home now, Jose? I want to bring you some apple pie."
Oh, that's lovely.
And I think where there are still neighborhoods, things like that happen a
Yeah,
lot.
exactly, exactly. I was seeing something in Portland just recently. Portland has some sense of civic nature and connectedness. And this being the fall, there were people saying, hey, if you have apple trees, persimmon trees, whatever, that are fruiting right now, and you don't plan to harvest them, put out a note and we will come by. And there's volunteers that come by and harvest the fruit and then leave you some and then go on their merry way. And it's a lovely thing.
It is a very nice thing. Exactly. So that's one of the reasons, and I'll try to tie this up and then move down the list a bit. Uh, what you were saying about stewardship and ownership, that's something that's probably very interesting. And I don't know the word to label it, but for a good Upkido dojo or an Upkido commons, you can have things that seem to be opposite, but maybe are not opposite, and things that are opposite, and learn to distinguish and then make your choice. Because
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
suppose in the end, it comes down to every individual's choice, or
Hmm.
taking it on a larger scale, every community's choice. So it's nice to have examples of positive and negative ownership, positive and negative stewardship, and perhaps some speculative what ifs about the enhancing the one and disenhancing, is that a word? Uh, the other.
Deteriorating? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. I'll move down that list a bit, but I had said Nansen passports, but
Yeah.
thinking about that, passports themselves are a fairly recent invention.
And I had Nansen passports in my brain under refugee travel documents, but I don't remember what happened. Like Fridtjof Nansen says, what is the special function of Nansen passports?
When real passports were introduced, stateless people didn't have a place. They either never had a passport when they had to flee, or
Yeah,
left the passport behind when they fled. They are taking refuge in a country that may or may not want to give them citizenship or a passport. So he created the idea of a stateless passport so people could identify themselves.
that's
And
fabulous.
yeah, I thought it was a terrific invention,
Yeah,
maybe very relevant as world migration gears up, or
yeah,
maybe some variation on it. And then, of course, you've got the very modern version, which is called digital citizenship. Because citizenship itself is a social invention, I suppose, going back at least to the old ancient Greeks and Romans, and perhaps even before that. But digital citizenship, as Estonia has shown, is a modern version. And that whole idea of where, what's your community, what's your identity, where do you belong, do you need one?
yeah.
Uh, Interesting question. Do you need one? It looks like these days you do need one, or maybe more than one, but then you're suspect if you cross the border with more than one passport, etc.,
Hmm.
etc.
It's funny. There's a thought in my brain. Let's treat refugees as first-class global citizens.
Yeah,
And it came from a conversation with Alexander Betts, who is the head of one of the refugee organizations. I met him years ago. And I was thinking, if you have a tablet computer, which the cost of which is like $50 right now, you can get a nice Android tablet that's 9 inches across for almost nothing, that has Wi-Fi built in. If we can get you an Android tablet, some Wi-Fi, and the Google Suite, which is free,
yeah, yeah,
you now have the same word processor and email processor that I use,
yeah,
right? And if you can have a stable identity connected to that, Nansen Passport plus digital, what have you, you suddenly, and one of the problems with being a refugee is that you have very few rights to work or to do there's a whole bunch of things you're not allowed to do, which I think
yeah,
seem very stupid. The danger also is that secretly people go start like underworld schemes to take over the world and drug running and whatever else, because same tools will help you. A spreadsheet doesn't care
yeah,
whether you're trying to feed people in the slum or give sell them drugs. So you've got to figure that one out somehow. But this whole idea of we're going to have increased migrations, economic conflict, and climate migrations. That's just going to go up in the next decades. Uh, I will point out as a side glance, but very significant side glance, that migration is almost the key issue that the far right is growing around.
yeah, yeah,
So those two statements together, there's going to be a lot more migration, and the far right has weaponized it brilliantly, I would say. That's really dangerous. So doing something brilliant about migrants that helps everybody lose their fear of migration, and then the third force here is depopulation. Like the first world countries, Europe and Japan, Korea, are depopulating faster than anybody can understand.
yeah,
The plunges of population estimates, I don't fully understand how population dies off that quickly when you fall below replacement rate, but there they are, right?
yeah,
Korea has the world's lowest reproduction rate,
yeah,
which is like scary low, and they're freaking out. So what do they need? They need immigration. They don't need to like play porn on public billboards so that their people will reproduce more. That they're having trouble figuring any of that out. They could use more people in the country.
yeah.
I don't
And
know. I don't see too many alternatives to that.
well, the alternative is, of course, reclaiming the concept of, uh, well, what do you call it in English? A multicultural society. It's gone well out of fashion here in the Netherlands and Europe. But
Yep.
while it was in fashion, things worked a lot better than they are working now. So I don't know how to talk about this that well in English. In Dutch, people who want to improve their way of life and are ready to work very hard
Hmm.
in a new country, they have a denigrating word, which would translate as seekers of good luck or
Wow.
seekers of happiness, and they're not well.
Wow.
They're not well. I mean, America was originally built by seekers of happiness and good luck.
Yeah.
The Netherlands, which is another country built very much by people who came here ready to work hard for a better life. It's so let's be positive and say out of fashion or politically incorrect or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But can it be reclaimed?
Yeah. Well, I think these things swing. There's this massive pendulum of attention and belief systems and everything, and things do swing back and forth. And things that look completely out of fashion at one point are completely in fashion 100 years later. But most people don't live that long.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
and
Um,
I was just going to say, at the moment, I want to just agree with what you were saying about with the
yeah.
Koreans. The more the climate starts becoming really weird, there will be real mass migrations of numbers unheard of in the world today. And the best thing is to be ready for
Yeah.
dealing with that in a positive and humane, humanistic, or whatever adjective you want to put there, in a way
Yeah.
that improves life for all included.
And 2/3 of Bangladesh is at sea level.
Yeah, yeah,
So you raise the sea level a bit, everybody either builds on stilts or moves.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the Highlands group, the Highlands Forum group that I'm part of, we had a couple calls recently. One was about Pacific Islands, like the Marshall Islands, that are
yeah,
disappearing, and what do you do about that? And then our call after that was about the Sahel, basically the coup belt across Africa,
yeah,
and how broken that is. And all these things cause all sorts of migrations, including, the population of the Marshall Islands isn't that big, or Vanuatu, or whatever these places are that are sinking. They need to be displaced to somewhere and try to preserve their culture. That's like very important to them.
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
So, in a really well-functioning Upkido Commons, those are issues which you'd like to get dozens, hundreds, thousands of brains, hearts, and minds thinking and feeling together with
mhm.
solutions which are beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, there should be a neighboring term to, so we're working basically on underappreciated ideas. There should be a neighboring term for spoiled ideas, like good ideas that got ruined,
Yeah,
like the whole idea of practical altruism or whatever it's called.
yeah,
Um, let me find it. Uh, reciprocal altruism economy, altruists. Heck, where did I put it? That's weird. Bankman Fried will take me to Sam Bankman-Fried, who was one of the leaders of the effective altruism movement, which I do have under altruism. I just didn't see it. But to me, there's a couple terms in here like effective altruism, which I think had a pretty good intent, but ended up being twisted and either actively misinterpreted or spun as being terrible. In the
yeah,
case of effective altruism, it seems like what it ended up meaning was it doesn't matter how I make money in the world today. I can do whatever I want, including despoiling things, as long as I have enough money to do some good later with it in this algorithmic kind of way, which is very cold-hearted and doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think a lot of it wound up being that, right?
yeah,
And so how, but the general concept is the general concept of how do you intervene in a system to do the most good, which is what I have effective altruism under. Here, let me just share screen
Uh,
for a second.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I when it first came out, I loved the idea. So Peter
yeah,
Singer, I think Peter Singer has this idea called effective altruism. He becomes kind of the godfather of it. And then I have it under where to intervene in a system to do the most good. Uh, and then which is right above 12 leverage points to intervene in a system from
yeah,
Donella Meadows, which we've talked
yeah,
about.
yeah.
But I'm like, why? How did this go wrong? And then underneath it, I have long-termism, another good idea ruined. Because for me, long-termism was a way of thinking about how do we plan and how do we act today for the long term. And what other people took it to mean was, oh, people alive don't matter. We shouldn't even factor them into the calculations. Future people matter morally just as much as people alive today. So we should do stupid things today because it might be good for people down the road. That's where that seemed to go.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, wow, that went wrong.
yeah,
That went just so wrong.
yeah. I love your concept of spoiled ideas.
I'm
We
going to
should
add it to my brain
definitely,
next to the underappreciated ideas.
yeah, that's a totally new box where I think lots of concepts are waiting to break out of that box and be.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, I'm not sure they're rescuable. I don't know. I mean, like seasteading, right? So
Yeah,
seasteading is another spoiled idea.
yeah,
I'll because seasteading, and it's funny, a lot of these things are associated with uh, libertarianism or whatever else. Seasteading is like, as far as I'm concerned, two-thirds of the earth is covered in water. The water level is rising. What if we learn to live on the water? And if you look around, there are a few cultures around the earth that have learned to live on water. There's some boat, there's some Polynesian or maybe closer to Southeast Asian groups that live in open waters. They fish for a living, but they live on boats and they teach their kids not to fall in the water and drown. And they occasionally will like go to market, but they'll probably just take a boat to market, come back with stuff they need. But they're seafarers, right? And if you had more resources, and it's funny, some years ago I interviewed a guy who was part of the Open Sailing project, Open Sailing something. I think it was called Open Sailing. Yeah, Open Sailing. It's just called Open Sailing. And he hated the term seasteading because his name is Cesar Harada. He hated the term seasteading because it had been taken over by libertarians.
yeah,
But roughly what he was doing was trying to create open source instructions for how do you create life on the oceans,
yeah,
which I think is a great idea.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm making some notes here in the book.
Yeah,
I'm just adding in the box spoiled ideas, seasteading, and what you just said, open source belongs
open
in.
sailing,
Yeah,
open
yeah, but
sailing.
open source itself is a
Yeah,
is societal intervention or social intervention.
yeah, yeah.
So I just wanted to run three more things past you.
Go for
One
it.
is participatory decision making.
Uh-huh.
I spent 15 years working with that in the Dutch government. It's part of distributed ownership or stewardship or part of citizenship, but it's something that until it was talked about, labeled, and used, we couldn't disseminate it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a couple now of more controversial ones.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
well, I'll start with the easiest, the Red Cross,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the Red Crescent in the Islamic world. Then we go to the Peace Corps.
Well, when you say Red Cross is underappreciated, what do you mean?
No, they're in societal concepts.
Oh, okay.
Before
But
the Red Cross was invented in I guess it was the Franco-German. No, it was
American Red Cross is
traveling
18.
heavily forwards into the Valley of Death Road to 600. That war. That was the first
Yeah,
time. I
Battle
read.
of, I think it's the Battle of Solferino.
So very well. Sounds very, very familiar. Yeah.
I think, but I'm not sure. I will go read up on
But
it. But I think
it was a war
it
that the English were involved in because it's an English poem.
well, the English have been to war with almost all the countries on Earth.
Some of them many, many times.
There was a map that came up recently that showed like here's the few countries that have not had a war with Britain, and it was a tiny number. It was like
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Well, the Red Cross, and it gave birth some decades later to the Red Crescent for Islamic
Yes.
countries. Before it
Yeah.
was there was no concept of ceasefires where people could go in with hospital wagons and treat survivors.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful societal innovation.
Mm.
So I'll move down to one, and maybe it fits into spoiled ideas or underappreciated ideas. Peace Corps. Peace Corps had very positive and very negative things attached to it,
Hmm.
including being attached to the Kennedys in the 60s. So I think it sort of died out in the 70s, but it was very useful innovation for
Hmm.
different things.
Hmm.
And then I have the real controversial one, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
Mm.
You
Hmm.
you can take it to the far right and say it's also the Hitler Jugend,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it did give, especially again, we're back into England where a number of these ideas originated. It
Yeah,
did
yeah.
give underprivileged, lower class English boys originally and later girls
Yeah.
structure in their lives, coach practice in learning skills. And can that be reconfigured or reclaimed in an Upkido Commons?
Yep.
Question. Yeah,
I like and scouting in general. Robert Baden-Powell
yeah.
was kind of one of the founders. You're reminding me also of something that I think you'll like, which is Folk High School, Folkhögschule,
Ah,
or
yes, yeah,
Folkhögskole,
yeah,
1844, Grundtvig, NFS Grundtvig, I think in Norway. No, Denmark. He's Danish.
yeah.
Uh, and folk high schools were big. And one of the theories of why the Northern European social democracies are so stable and strong is that a third of the adults in them went to folk high schools.
Very interesting.
I like the theory. I think it's a
Yeah,
very interesting theory because taught them they taught their citizens about civic life. It's a thought in my brain. Nordic countries taught their citizens about civic life versus consumerism.
yeah. Wonderful.
Hmm.
Exactly. In when I used to give presentations about what I call the six lits,
Hmm.
six forms of literacy which need attention, and
Cool.
civic literacy was always near the top of the list, along
Love
with,
that.
yeah, along with, I mean, I use six because it alliterates with the lit. Uh,
Yep.
no, technically that's not alliteration. It's a different term. But anyway, it works well together in the sound. But I mean, you could make lists of 10 or 12 things which were important to be literate or orality. I don't know what the for orality or oracy the best word would be, but you need to
Yeah.
be able to understand and use them at basic capacities in the near future.
It's interesting.
So,
Oracy is such a weird word. Go ahead.
so that's the list that I had, and if we can keep them someplace in sort of open containers where they can move back and forth and be considered and reconsidered, uh, I have the feeling that doing this with them, and I think probably doing it with the concepts of indigenous wisdom.
Hmm.
It was a very interesting basic resource for people to want to do work in an an Upkido Commons or an Upkido dojo. So the
Hmm.
question I suggested, although we don't have that much time, I don't know how much time you still have.
I'm good. I don't have a call after this, so I can go over a
Okay,
bit.
so I suggested thinking about what can people do with these things in an Upkido dojo or in extending that in an Upkido Commons,
Uh-huh.
and then how would thinking about them or practicing them using design from trust principles
Yep.
help build, and I'm fascinated by the term civilizational stack. I'm not sure
Hmm.
I'm using it in the same way it was talked about on OGM, but
Hmm.
I heard it, it resonated with me.
Hmm.
I am very influenced by activities of the Long Now Foundation, where
Hmm.
some years ago they were started collecting uh, knowledge and talent which would be necessary for rebuilding civilization after a complete collapse.
I'm puzzled about Long Now because I know the founders, they're friends. And I've been in their building long ago, but they did the clock of the Long Now, which is an interesting philosophical exercise. But of all the things you might need to do, that seemed like a quixotic exercise, an expensive and quixotic exercise. And I haven't heard like what you were just saying, what resources do you need to bootstrap civilization again? I didn't know that they were working on things like that were more practical like that.
Oh, yeah, they've got libraries of books and they've got practices. It's all available on their website, at least if you're
They should be
a
working to take apart copyright, for example.
for example.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, they should be tremendous activists for things that might actually help fix society.
Yeah.
Huh.
And they do it for a small slice of people like us.
Yeah.
Uh, I get weekly and monthly notices from them. I can't attend any of their talks because they start in the evening on the West Coast and it's the middle of the
Mm,
summer.
yeah.
But they're all recorded, and the recordings are available for people.
Mm,
Very intelligent people are saying very intelligent things.
hmm.
A lot of them are also written in shorter or longer essays.
Hmm.
I'm very it's for me has been for me quite an important source of ways to think differently about society for many years.
I am heartened to hear that
And
because I was disappointed by the stuff that they were working on.
yeah, I mean they also have this thing about long bets, and they have all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy stuff. But aside from using their money and resources to build the clock and to finance long bets, I think they
Hmm.
do have a nice resource, which one day might come very much in handy if things suddenly get out of whack. And
Hmm.
I'm not even thinking of nuclear wars, but even sunspot explosions or knocking knocking internet and radio frequencies out of the air.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Huh. Fascinating. So I really like your list. The list you created was excellent. I've added a couple things to it along the way, like stewardship. I just put a link for you in the chat to the notes I took in my brain, so you can go see how I
Terrific.
curated it, and I will
Yeah,
add I will add that link to the notes for this call, so that anybody can go wander around and see what the notes were, in context. The problem with
excellent.
my brain, of course, is that other people can't add to it, but it's an open resource. I mean, the good
Yeah,
news is it's a nice visual way to see the context and to follow it around. The bad news is there's no way for people just to add to it or to make a pull request or anything like that, which I
yeah,
which I hate.
yeah.
Um, Um, but this has been super, super helpful.
I just got another one from the conversation just before that for underappreciated ideas, copy left.
Yeah, good. And these are basically social innovations that we like. That's
Yeah,
basically what this list is,
yeah.
right?
And it made me realize when you talked about the Volksschule that this is a completely Anglo-Saxon based list. And if we
Yeah.
have people from Sweden or Iceland or Denmark, and if we had people from Bulgaria and Croatia and Africa and whatever, they might come
Hmm.
with completely new things which we would recognize but never think of,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is one of the practical things I hope this will eventually lead to in an Upkido dojo.
So, for example, let me actually do a little screen share again. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. So I have thought in my brain words I love, which I actually pinned to the top here. So words I love, and one of them is Rinrigaku, which is
Mm.
Japanese for the principles that allow us to live in friendly community.
Mm, nice.
And I think I
Yeah.
might have learned about it from this article by Mavis Biss about our broken trust in public space, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. There's a book by Tetsuro Watsuji titled Rinrigaku,
Yeah.
something about ethics. Anyway, but that's here, ethics. Here we go. Ethics in Japan.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there are other things we would find just by wandering around here. Now, April has been collecting up terms that she likes from around the world into her Fluxicon,
Oh, yeah. Nice.
which is the basically the Flux lexicon.
Yeah.
And I think I have some of them here. There we go. So Nixon, you'll recognize, of course.
Yeah.
Kensho, Nagomi, Satori, Yugen, Ziji, Insai, Ikigai, Drishti, Aparigraha, Chokshai. Oh, gotta remember this one. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see enoughness is there. Yeah.
So
Ah.
there's a bunch of stuff to wander through.
Yeah.
And then as I said, this morning I was going through this and I was curating this whole zone and I
Yeah.
found uh, never enough. Where's the other? Enough isn't. There we go. Here's the book Enough by
Yeah.
John Nash. I just learned about this book this morning
Oh,
and
yeah.
was busy reading about this, which led me also to a book I'd never heard of by Oliver James, The Selfish Capitalist: The Origins of Affluenza, which connects
Uh,
up to Affluenza, which is these three authors
yeah.
who wrote the book in 2001, then updated it a couple times. The latest update is this one with a new subtitle, and it looks like they realized how important their concept was,
Yeah.
and sort of went back to it.
Very nice. Very good.
I have this
Never,
under rampant consumerism is harming us.
yeah. Never throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah. Gosh, I forget about this thought. I love this thought. The four separations of
Mm,
consumerism,
interesting. Yeah.
of consumerization. It separates us from each other because
Yeah.
my job is to outperform you and to buy cooler stuff.
Yeah.
It separates us from the responsibilities at hand. Oh, don't worry, just go buy stuff. Don't try to
Yeah.
help each other. It separates organizations from humans and it separates us from meaning and purpose. Our job is to
Yeah.
buy more stuff and to show off the
Yeah.
brands.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very nice. I need to take a couple of hours each week to navigate your
I
brain. There's so
need
much in there.
I need to make all the stuff in there more visible, available, public, whatever. And I'm working hard to try to do that. But mostly by writing short essays in Obsidian. So there it goes.
So I want to take us into a brief reflection on where do we, and especially you, want to take this. We've had a couple
Yeah.
of really interesting conversations. There are wonderful possibilities and opportunities available, but can't do everything.
Hmm.
But can do something. But what kind of something would you like to do with this?
Um, so several things. One is it would be really nice to have more people in the mix than just the two of us. Although I'm really enjoying, and also our ability to not stray too far from what we think we're going to talk about and to bring in new things is like it's really really lovely. And I know that as we get like 6 or 10 or 12 people, it's going to get a little funkier, but I'm used to facilitating conversations like that, so I'm not afraid of that. But I also think we need more diversity and more people who care about this and want to do something about it. I pulled down the markdown file that was the third version of the website design
Yeah,
that Claude suggested, and I was just
yeah,
looking at that. I was looking at that this morning, and I was like, I kind of want to try to apply that to the baby website that we've got,
yeah,
and see what that does. Um, and I'd love to post, what I want to do is post our three calls because I've posted the recordings of our three calls to YouTube, but haven't told a soul about
yeah,
them. They're just up there. I'm going to
yeah,
post those three links into the Keto Dojo on
yeah,
LinkedIn. And then when I post this one, I'll post my brain link as well so that people can go browse around, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll mention that that there is a website and that we're kind of working on it. But it would be nice to have to write maybe next week what we do is we collaboratively write one post that we put on LinkedIn
good idea.
where we just open a Google Doc. Let's write. If you want to take a start at it, please do. But next week I'll be in San Francisco, but this time will work fine. But let's just spend the hour writing a post that we then simultaneously post, and we point to each other. We say, Hank and I have been working on blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah, but we take the identical post, both post it, and then invite people into the dojo and just make it an open invite. If you're interested, please knock on this door over here.
yeah, yeah,
And then see what that turns into. And probably what that turns into is inviting more people into this call
yeah,
over time and see if that means something. And then I don't know, there's so many directions it could take. So all the things that we just talked about today, all the underappreciated ideas, fit nicely. If you think back on the Claude conversation and the website, when we applied Donella Meadows, it came up with a small scale, med scale, and
yeah,
big scale. I think they fit very nicely under the big scale interventions,
yeah,
the larger scales principles of Upkido. So I'm going to see if I can fold this call into that part of the website, for example. So here's a conversation that fits over here on the website design. I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, and then go from there and see who shows up and what's up. I'm the Google site is simple and nice and free. And one of the nice things is do you want? I can give you access, edit privileges to it. It's very
yeah,
easy. It's a Google site. It's very simple, and we could do that with other people. But the problem is when you get somebody really ambitious who has a lot of time but isn't in accord with what you and I've talked about, and they
yeah,
go and make a whole lot of changes, it
yeah,
really gets messy and broken fast.
yeah,
So I don't know how to proceed in that territory well, meaning I like what Claude came up with. I'm not 100% sold on it, but I want to put it in the site as a start.
yeah,
I want to mix it into what I started with a couple pages I put up, and then see where that takes us.
yeah, absolutely. Just for the fun of it, yesterday I asked ChatGTP,
Uh-huh.
um, tell me what an Upkido comments would be like. Got a number of obvious things, a few interesting things. ChatGTP went strictly through Upkido as a martial art, as opposed
Oh,
to an
interesting.
art of living, for example.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we could use some of that and edit it out. In
yeah.
general, it was an intention. It was a nice aspirational thing. I then
Fascinating.
asked, what would a pattern language for healing the planet be like?
Oh, nice.
Answers. Nothing wrong with what it wrote. And finally, what would a pattern language for peace be like? And there were some repetitions in fact, across all the three questions. But
Yep.
I'll send that on to you as well, and you can see if you think that should be posted or used as editing by the two of
Uh,
us, or eventually 10 of us?
for right now, those sound like really interesting posts into the Upkido dojo. Like
Yeah,
go crazy with all the each of those things. You could say, hey, here's the chat. Here's what I came up with. Just share it in, and let's see what that kicks up. I think that'd be lovely. Um, this is beyond my like time commitment or ambitions right now, but we could start a Substack called Upkido very easily,
yeah,
and we could start posting these things there and have it be a multi-author, have it be a multi-author Substack where you and I and a few other people who join us can all post
yeah.
and see what that does. But that's outside of my reach right this minute.
Yeah, and for me as well. But it's a nice idea to look towards sometime next year,
Yeah,
depending on how everything goes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. And
cool.
I do want to bring back the original idea of useful indigenous wisdom concepts that people are still practicing and can tell us and others about.
Yep, yep. And I haven't added to the Claude conversation with the other questions from our previous conversations for your thing. It was too complicated for my brain, so I should go back and do some of that uh, so that we get some of the benefits of what you just said.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
sounds good.
cool. All right then. So we know what we're doing next week.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't, I don't see a chat. I don't know how to access a chat. So save it and send it out to me.
I will send it to you for sure.
In the meantime, I'll try to figure out how to use Zoom on an iPad.
Cool.
Probably just enough later to show you
Yeah,
the beautiful sunset here.
yeah, let's see what you've got. Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful.
Just below this building. Yeah, it's beautiful, a beautiful place. This is the second time we've been here, or we will be here for almost a week. Cat sitting.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
exceptional. Certainly for Amsterdam, it's
Yep.
really special. So we're happy to
Cool.
stay here.
Pardon?
We're happy that we got get the opportunity to stay here.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. A good outing, a good staycation, sort of.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, well, keep getting those insights and good ideas out to all the people who are connecting with you at conferences, at OGM calls, at your other calls, and people you meet on the street.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. And I hope Jose had a great evening out at Bridge. Ah,
She usually does. Win or
good.
lose, you play the game.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. I
Yeah.
just I have particular reasons why mine didn't work. Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Thanks, Hank.
regards also to April, and now let's keep the ball rolling.
She'll be in your neighborhood in a couple weeks. She's giving a talk. She got picked to speak at the Oslo Business Forum and the Nordic Business Forum. They're a couple days apart, but she's speaking at both. And it's a pretty big deal, and they've done a lot of stuff around it already. They've had podcast recordings and panel sessions and all that. And then the time she's actually in Oslo, I think they've got her booked a lot as well, but she'll be close by.
Yeah. Well, it always turns out to be a small world, so
It's true.
she might have a flight rerouted through Amsterdam, and we can have coffee at the airport.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
You never know. That's
True.
terrific. Okay, nice to speak this way again. I really appreciate these calls.
Same here. Thank you so much. More
Okay,
soon.
bye bye.
Ciao.